The more that we can come together to work together, the less resistance and the easier the challenges are going to be when we face them as a group. Connected emotion stemmed out of my personal frustrations, I guess. Living as a young adult with type 1 diabetes, was connected with my endocrinologist in my clinic, but outside of that I really was figuring out how to manage diabetes on my own and how to incorporate the things that I love to do, which was outdoor adventure, and how to manage diabetes alongside that. And all I really wanted to do was to talk to people who had been there and done that before, so I could learn from them and see how they were managing and finding success in that. I didn't know how to get connected. I started looking out there for the young adult groups of people that got together with type 1 diabetes, and it just wasn't there. And so I just decided that I would start something and just try to create a space and an opportunity where we could come together to connect and to educate and to inspire one another, and to really focus in on the positives of what we could do when we lived with diabetes and how to really manage it well. So I had an education background. I was a teacher. I was an expedition guide at the time and had all these experiences of working with people outside of all different ages and from all different walks of life. And I had had many experiences just seeing what kind of impact an outdoor experience and an experiential education experience could have on people. It just was empowering and it was inspiring, and I just thought, why can't we take that and apply that to diabetes? Why don't we come together as type 1s and head out to do some of these great outdoor activities and just see what that draws out of people? And so that's sort of what Connected Emotion was about, was trying to create that and just, like I said, create an opportunity for people to come together, because there really isn't a lot of that for young adults and adults with type 1 diabetes to have that opportunity. So when I got diagnosed, I was in the hospital for 7 days. I was in pretty rough shape. I had an endocrinologist come in to meet me and a diabetes nurse educator come in to meet me, and obviously I learned the basics from them. My motivation was just to get out of the hospital and never turn back. So I said, teach me everything I need to know, like, bring it on, I want out of here. That was sort of where my core understanding of diabetes and how I was going to have to manage things started out. Beyond that, I mean, I was 18, I had 1 year left of high school. I did not want to be held back from going to university the following year, so I just wanted to learn as much as I could and try to figure things out on my own, and that's what I did. I really started just experimenting with things that I wanted to do and figuring out how I could manage my diabetes when I went out to do them. And I really didn't even think beyond the fact that I had a nurse and a doctor, and that's what diabetes education meant. When I heard diabetes and when the doctor started to talk to me about what that was, I thought, oh, this is a manageable, this is something, they're telling me that if I do specific things every day, I can live the life of my choosing. And so it wasn't a death sentence, it was going to be fine. And I think that sort of set my mentality and set the tone for me for what it was going to mean to live with diabetes right in that moment of being diagnosed, of thinking, holy, this could have been a lot worse. It's only diabetes. In 2009, I didn't know anybody else with type 1 diabetes. I was traveling actually in Australia and New Zealand. I came across this group called HypoActive, and they're a group down in Melbourne, Australia, that was bringing together young adults with type 1 diabetes to get out and do active things. And I saw this online and my eyes just widened, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's other people out there that are not only like me, but have, you know, like interests and want to get out and are trying to live their lives and just move on with this diabetes thing. So I met up with them when I was down in Australia and joined them for a weekend, a 48-hour cycle race. And it was the first time that I had been surrounded by other people with type 1 diabetes. There was 20 people on this team. I spent a whole weekend with them, hearing other people talking about highs and lows, seeing other people testing their blood sugar, seeing people shove their mouth full of jelly beans as they jumped on the bike for their next ride. And I just was in total shock and awe that other people were dealing with these things every day. And it was in that sort of cycling experience and moment with all these other type 1s that I came up with this analogy of the slipstream, and that I was learning how to ride this race bike that weekend. I'd never cycle raced before, and one of the gals there just said, don't worry Chloe, hop on the bike, keep the front tire of your bike as close to the back tire of my bike as you can, and you'll just cruise in our slipstream. And that's what cycling's all about. But I thought that can also be what living with diabetes is about, if we come together and do this together. And so this analogy of the slipstream and this idea that through Connected in Motion, I didn't have a name for it then, but I just thought I want to be a part of a group of people that I can cruise with, that I can cruise in a diabetes slipstream with, and that I can gain support from and encouragement from. And when I'm having a rough time, just cruise behind. And when I'm, feeling good about this diabetes thing, I'll take a turn at the front and I'll break some trail. But I don't want to do it on my own anymore, now that I know there's other people out there. I came back from that trip with this inspiration to just want to connect with other people. And that was back in 2009. I just booked some space up at a camp outside of Toronto and said I'm going to host the first annual Slipstream weekend. And then I kind of looked around. Oh shoot, I don't know anybody else. Like, how do I do this? So that's when I started getting in touch with as many clinics as I could, with as many educators, and just trying to spread this word that I wanted to host this weekend, and could they tell people about it, anybody that they thought might be willing to hear or interested. And in 2009, January of 2009, we had 25 young adults and adults with type 1 diabetes join us for a whole weekend of winter adventures and diabetes workshops, and we had the first annual Winter Slipstream weekend. And from there, Connected in Motion has just grown and built, and now we're a nonprofit organization that runs events across Canada all year long. Through Connected in Motion and our programs and events, we really are just trying to create this community that has a culture of engagement in diabetes self-management, and creating these opportunities for people to come together and be surrounded by other people that are testing their blood sugars regularly, that are counting their carbs, that are adjusting basal rates for exercise, and fitting this all into their day-to-day life and having great success with it. The scare tactics don't really work. It's not knowing that if I don't do this, I could go blind or I could lose a limb. It's more hearing the stories of inspiration, being surrounded by other people that have that mentality and that outlook on it. It puts you in this slipstream, and when you're surrounded by that, it's easier to implement that yourself. And there's so much to be gained just by being a part of that. And we really do see that through Connected in Motion programs, and seeing people's attitude about diabetes change. Even just being more public and more open about testing their blood sugars, or giving an injection in public, or pulling out their insulin pump. And for a lot of people, that's still a hidden part of their lives. And we just want people to embrace that and say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what life is for me. And I do it well. Diabetes does not have to hold you back. It puts no limits on you. If you commit yourself to learning as much as you can, to doing your best every day, and to managing diabetes to the best of your ability. In doing that, we just open up the floodgates of freedom for ourselves.